What I want, you got in my heart. Sippers, welcome to this episode. Sippers! Welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. If you're watching this in the video version on YouTube, which you should be unless you're old, you'll notice that I have this new, I've had it for a couple of weeks, I've talked about it, HD webcam. The more I look at it, the more I don't know what is HD about it. In fact, I think the built-in webcam on my laptop is maybe better, but maybe I just need to get some sort of lighting rig. I'm not too sure. And when I say lighting rig, I mean some very small basic light. I do not mean a rig. I don't even know what a lighting rig is, but I'm sure I couldn't afford one. I mean, I might be able to. But here we go, sippers. It's a Wednesday episode of the Tea With Me podcast. Again, we're a week into this second. We're not even a week into the second lockdown, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I know one thing. I probably know 450 things. Like in general, like that would be in the amount of things. No, in fact, I would know more than 450 things because I would know more than 450 celebrities. So, and I probably know 450 footballers. Honestly, I would say I know 8,000 things. And one of the things I know is that your big mate is on TV this Friday. BBC One Northern Ireland, 10:45, either 10:45 or 10:15. Either way, stay up. Either way, definitely stay up because a lot of people go to bed slightly before that, me being one. But this Friday, I'll be staying up to watch myself. Which I do anyway in the mirror, but this will be me watching me on TV, which is like Inception. But previously with Shane Todd is on BBC One this Friday. I'll find out the time. I think it's 10:45. I mean, that's late. Let me just check. BBC One previously with Shane Todd. There we go. And I'd already looked it up. There we go. I'd already looked it up. 10:45. Jesus Christ. So 10:45 BBC Northern Ireland this Friday night. It'll be on Network BBC, and whether you're in London, Barnsley, Glasgow, or Cardiff, and many other places, it'll be on a different time. But I'm sure you can find out when that is. It's one of 3 episodes, so it's my first TV series, and I'm excited for people to see it, and I'm excited to see it myself because I have not seen it. I haven't seen it because I didn't want to. I like watching it when it's going out live, because you get excited. Not physically excited, but I don't know how good it's going to be, but excited because TV to me is still cool. Doing online stuff is kind of what I do now. That's kind of the thing, is doing online stuff. Me and pretty much everybody else that does stand up, that does comedy. But let me tilt that down a bit. I look very vulnerable the way I was sitting there. But TV was the thing that whenever I grew up, it was like your dream. Once you go into comedy and that kind of thing, most people's dream is to have a TV show, especially on like BBC. And that hasn't changed for me. That's kind of always been one of the big things that I wanted to do. So with this show, you might have seen the pilot that I did of it. They aired the pilot, which is basically a pilot episode is kind of a let's see how it goes trial, and then they put one of those on, and then they say if people like it, and if they do, they give you a series. Or in my case, they put it on the first time, and then I think it was like on like a Wednesday night at 10:45, like way over a year ago, and not too many people saw it, and then I let's just say, no, so I'd say a brown envelope. You can't nowadays. You can't say things like that because people might not know you're joking. But yeah, I basically asked BBC. They might have been doing it anyway, but I asked them, "Here, is there any chance you could repeat previously with Shane Todd?" And they said, "Yes, let's put it on again." Because the start of lockdown, they were looking for content to put out, so they showed it again. Gave it a big push here. people watched it, people liked it, and then we've got a series off the back of that. So almost if it wasn't for lockdown, I don't think there would have been new episodes of it, and definitely not a series. So this whole lockdown thing, this whole pandemic, people looking for a silver lining. It's called Previously with Shane Todd, and it's on this Friday night. It's I don't like watching stuff. I don't like watching myself do something unless I am watching it with. I would never watch so I got sent the link of the show, but I didn't want to watch it. I started to watch it and then I went, no, I can't do this, because I prefer to watch someone else watching me, which is, psychologists probably sit me down and tell me there's something mad behind that. But it's going out. I think at the time when we did it, it felt really good. It's me going through the archive, looking at old footage, and for the pilot that we did it, and the way we always thought we would do it is, talk about first world problems. Do you ever get it when you're wearing ankle socks and it goes over the ball of your foot, and then it's not on right? Sorry, I had to sort that out. Anyway, when we did the pilot, we did it in front of basically like a comedy club audience, in front of a live audience. It was like doing stand-up. I was standing up in front of an audience, commenting on the video that I was seeing. But because we did this in the midst of COVID and lockdown the first time around, it was in the main BBC studio in Belfast, which is pretty big. And it's where they do Nolan. It's where they do all the shiny floor shows, which is what someone called it once. And I really like that term. But it was just me, a guy called Seamus, who is like top cameraman there, but he was also doing sound. So he's doing camera and sound. And like, to show you on the pilot, we had 3 or 4 camera operators and like 3 people doing sound. So this was just all being done by one guy, who luckily was very good at it. And then Mark, the producer. So it was the 3 of us, Mark kind of off to my side, making sure I'm doing my lines right, giving me pointers, watching the time as well. And then you have Seamus, who's doing sound and camera. And it's just the 3 of us in this massive open space, no audience. So we had to do it in a different way to the first show, but I still think it'll come out the way we felt it did at the time. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And yeah, I'm a massive TV star now. And yes, I didn't have... The barbers were closed during this. When we did this, you couldn't legally go to a barber's. So I had to have my hair, which... Yes, it is going to, from my first TV series, it is going to look on top like I just have one curtain. And I kind of do have that right now. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel like starting every day by putting a little bit of powder in my hair, by blow drying it, by combing it up. Sometimes life gets in the way, and you just have to have your hair the way you have your hair. And I didn't realize it was going to look that way on screen, but it does look like that way on screen. And people are going to be saying that whenever I should be getting feedback of people being like, Shane, you're brilliant, you're so funny, you look good, the show's brilliant, it's probably going to win a BAFTA. Instead, what you will have is people being like, where's your product on your hair? And anyone who makes comments like that will be directly reported to the PSNI. And I've been assured that that's going to go to the top level. And I've been assured that you're going to go to Macabre for life. So I would tread very, very carefully. So the show goes out every Friday. You can watch it on iPlayer if you miss it. But if you do, you will be a Judas turncoat. So I would just watch it at the time if I were you. Previously with Shane Todd. I like that my name is in the title of it. And I like that I insisted on that. Previously with Shane Todd. So it should be fun. And look, there will be negativity, there will be positivity, but that is life. I did some press interviews for it, and you do press interviews with Belfast Live, with the Telegraph, newsletter, Irish News, papers and stuff here are really good about getting you in, about doing an interview and kind of promoting your show. And there was one I did can't remember which one, but I was just about to go and do Colin Geddes' podcast and say I had to like leave the house at 11. I had left just enough time with the baby and stuff, and I'd left just enough time to have a shower, get dressed, and run out the door. But as soon as I walked upstairs, I got a phone call from BBC Press Office going, okay, this interview's about to start. And I had to do a half-hour interview while I didn't want to run. I didn't want to make it sound like the tap was running. So I washed myself with the tap just dripping a wee bit, and I was collecting water in my hand. I had the phone on speaker. I was collecting the water in my hand. I was pumping a little bit of hand soap into my hand and cleaning my entire body, and I was naked in my bathroom, and I cleaned my entire self. And what I should have done was said, I am so sorry. Listen, we're playing with the baby. We're a bit distracted with time. I got my days mixed up. Is there any way we could move this interview? But I said, oh, I've been looking forward to this. I've cleared time on the schedule. I got my days mixed up. So I had to clean myself. It took me half an hour. And at one point I had wet myself there's a lovely mental image. I wet myself everywhere. I didn't wet myself for the water. I had put moisture on myself that wasn't urine, and then I got Carex, the hand soap stuff, and then did that all over my body, and then I had to run my hand under the tap. And by the way, the whole way during this, I'm like, yeah, it was great to make the show. We hope it's good, and we put a lot of passion into it. And what's it like doing a show during lockdown? Oh, well, it's not ideal, But what wasn't ideal was the fact that I was giving myself a hillbilly bath, and then I had to carefully dry myself. And then as it went on, I was like, it's going to sound like I'm in a bathroom, because when you're in a bathroom, you always sound like you're in a bathroom. So I then said on the phone at the end of it, I'm in the bathroom, but by the way, I hope you don't think I'm doing a pee during this. And they were like, no, it's fine. Then I was like, oh no, they're going to think I'm doing a shit during an interview, which is the most disrespectful thing you can do. And then they're also going to be like, why are you in there for half an hour? Because in reality, I'm usually in there for about, I don't know, a minute and a half. I don't understand people. See if you go to the toilet and we don't really talk about toilet stuff on this podcast, because we're sippers. We've got a bit of decorum. We like to have a cup of tea. A lot of us don't even defecate. A lot of us will instead insert a fine china tube that gets rid of excrement into a waste disposal unit that's buried under all of our houses. But yeah, that would be disrespectful. I don't understand people who are like in there for, what about when someone's like 45 minutes later? Well, give that a minute. I'd be like, give the doctor a ring, because you shouldn't be in the, what? Who's reading a paper going to the toilet and getting through it? If I was reading the paper on the toilet, I'd barely have time to read the headlines on the front page and look at a little bit of the sport on the back. In fact, if I was reading the sport in the back, I wouldn't get past the football. If you're reading the sport on the back of the paper when you start going to the toilet and you get to the horse racing, there's something massively wrong. Go to A&E. I shouldn't say that at the minute, but remember, not everything in the podcast serious, so don't actually go to A&E, but do Zoom a GP if you're going to the bathroom for that long. Unless some people just go, get it done with, and then just sit there for a long time. But then that's weird, because you're just sitting in like a shit bathroom. I just feel that needs talked about. I think people almost take pride in going into the bathroom for a long time. I was in there for about half an hour there. You're gonna die. You're gonna die really soon. I take my breakfast in with me in the mornings. What? Just fellas sit. There's definitely someone listening to this podcast that's gone for a shit with a plate of full Irish breakfast on their knee. Like, that's happened. That's definitely happened. And to be fair, it's not the worst idea. I want to talk about the live episode that we did 2 nights ago, but public listeners will not be able to hear for a while, because you're not on that page. Why are you not on the Patreon? Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. Patreon.com teawithmepodcast. You get a bonus episode every Monday. Huh? You get my live stand-up special from last year from the waterfront. What? And you get every month or two, we do a live episode on Zoom. You're on Zoom, you're watching along, you can write in the chat bar. We had Dave Elliott, Kieran Bartlett on because we put it out there and people were like, hey, when can you get Kieran back? Kieran's done the podcast a couple of times and always hilarious. He had some fantastic stories about when he's worked on a BBC sketch show before. I'm not going to ruin the story, but basically, let's just say he was asked to play a certain role, and he was pretty miffed that they assumed that that's a role that he would read for. So yeah, that was very funny. Dave, well, honestly, for one of the first times, I found Dave Elliott really funny. Dave had, if you were watching the episode, you remember the ring of truth, like a red light of truth, which was very interesting. He got a lot off his chest. We will release that episode in a couple of weeks' time. We might have to edit some of it out, but we'll definitely release that episode. And then at the end of the episode, we just threw it open to sippers, and Dan was able to, I don't know how he does this, like David Blaine or something, but he was able to make sippers be on screen live and ask us questions and give us topics to talk about. It was really fun. And here's how you know it was fun. Dave said before we were doing the episode, he's like, listen, mate, my paternity leave ends tomorrow. So this was a Sunday night we were doing it. He's like, so I can only really be on for about 20 minutes because I want to get an early night. An hour and 20 minutes later, he's like, I'll just stay on. You know, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. There was a lot of chat about Cisco's Thong Song. So that's patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. What you're doing there is you're kind of like getting additional content. You're paying a couple of quid a month for additional content that hopefully is right up your pot, which is a new phrase I'm going to start saying. And thanks to everyone who shared the video last week about the Victorian slang. Bang up to the elephant, butter upon bacon, etc., etc. But I think the Patreon's good value. You can go on and essentially pay whatever you want, and you get that bonus content. And there will be way more stuff as we go on added to the Patreon. Let me take a little swig of tea. Oh yeah. Before we move on, we've got a big sponsor. Manscaped is our big sponsor. Manscaped.com. What is Manscaped? Well, Manscaped essentially have developed a product called the Lawnmower 3.0. A lot of sippers are on board. A lot of sippers are, let's just say, a lot more streamlined around the pubis region. And I presume a lot of male listeners, but I'm not counting out the fact that some female listeners have maybe got involved in this too. Manscaped have the Lawnmower 3.0, which is an electric razor for your pubes. And that doesn't rhyme. All right, but I said it like it was going to rhyme, but it didn't. It's an electric razor. You can take it with you in a travel case, a small travel case. It weighs nothing. It's precision engineering. You get. I use the product. So does Dan. I use the product, and I will be using the product later today. Okay, I need to hook myself up with the Lawnmower 3.0. Go and check it out. They have loads of amazing stuff. I mean, if you ever walked about thinking, I really need toner, you know, like you might use toner on your face and moisturizer. If you ever feel like you need those things for your balls, then Manscaped have it, and that's 100% true. Go to manscaped.com, check out what they have. Use our code TEAWITHME for 20% off and free shipping. That's TEAWITHME for 20% off and free shipping. Now let's get back to the pod. I have a load of guest episodes to record over the next couple of weeks. We're chasing a few people up, not literally, but as always, if you have any suggestions for people you'd like us to interview or try and get on the podcast, we will always try. Like the time I messaged Jamie Foxx and Snoop Dogg on Instagram, like within the same 5-minute period. And I'll be honest, I copied and pasted the same message and I didn't change it for Snoop Dogg. So Snoop Dogg will not do tea with me because I sent him a message that started, "Hey Jamie." And I don't know if Snoop Dogg's first name is Jamie or if he was probably reading, I mean, he never read it, but he might have read that and been like, what is this, like slang? He might have looked up the fact that I was from Hollywood and County Down and thought, is that a word those players are saying over there? Why? What does a Jamie mean? Does it mean like mate? Like what's up? Hey Jamie. Can we all just start saying hey Jamie now to people? Can we just start all conversations with whatever the person's called? Hey Jamie, and then just move on. Like I'm 100% going to do that, and I want sippers to do that. What I want sippers to do is anytime they ask questions from now on, when I say, guys, any podcast questions, I just want you to start saying, hey, Jamie, and just move on. So then Snoop Dogg will see that, know that we all do that, and he'll probably come on the podcast, and I can ask him things like, Snoop, do you drink tea? And he'll say stuff like, mate, I'm absolutely baked. I don't drink tea. I'll say this as well. Snoop Dogg's ad for Just Eat, you know, when he does a rap and everyone's like, oh my God, so cringe that Snoop Dogg's doing this. By the way, he probably got 500,000 for that. That's not a joke. Did somebody say just eat? No, there's no delivery. Okay, that's not a good impression at all. But his like freestyle, well, it's not freestyle, his rap on that is genuinely better than 99% of modern rap music. Also, shout out to my man Kanye West. Love having you on the podcast, mate. But you put out a new song this morning. I listened to it and it's shit. So I apologize for that. And to be fair, I only listened to the first 30 seconds of it. But after 30 seconds, I was like, I don't have time for this. But I know you're doing Joe Rogan's podcast the next couple of weeks. So ideally, when you get that done, come on tea with me. You know, if you have a new album coming out, you want to give it a bit of a boost or whatever, easy boost. I would do Joe Rogan's podcast, and then I would come on tea with me. I'd love to just get a guest totally out of nowhere that just completely surprises everyone. Like, who's that guy from Making a Murder? Steve Avery. You know, live from prison, bit of a Zoom hookup. He'd be a good episode. I was about to say Nelson Mandela, who, that's very disrespectful. It's been dead for a number of years, but would have been a great podcast guest. Who else? I don't know. But see, the thing podcast guest is, you'd be surprised at the amount of people who are like, yeah, I'm up for that. Like, so few people have said, like, no to the podcast. The ones that haven't got back to me about doing the podcast are Snoop Dogg, aka Jamie Foxx, and well, I was supposed to have Chris Stefano on the podcast, who I think there was a question last week who are my favorite American comedians, and he was one of the people I said. He does the History Hyenas podcast, which is one of the only podcasts I listen to myself. By the way, massive cup today. I asked him to the podcast. He said, yeah. Then we're about to go, and he sent me a message saying, man, I'm so sorry, but the Wi-Fi or like the internet in my block is down. Now, here's the thing, Chris Stefano lives, I think, in central New York or in like Manhattan. Definitely like within New York, Brooklyn or whatever. So I'm going to guess, you know, if the internet goes down in central New York, chances are they get it up and running again pretty quick because it is probably the capital city of the world. So I think he was telling a fib, but I think we are willing to forgive and forget. So I would like to welcome you back on the podcast. And if the listeners want to send Chris Stefano a message saying, hey, Jamie, new line, do the Tea With Me podcast, that'd be great. Dave got him to do a birthday message for me that was on the birthday edition episode of this podcast. You can go back and listen to it in June, and I think he'd be a great guest. That's delicious. I'm going to float this idea to the listeners, to the viewers. Is this a really bad idea for an online web series that we actually could shoot like in the next couple of weeks? Or is it a bad idea, or is it a quite good idea? Would you watch it? My idea is I do a comedy fitness series. Now hear me out on this. You're going, wee man, you're not a fitness expert, you're not a PT. We see too many people like this on Instagram who just have the shirt off for no reason, who are like telling you about nutrition and stuff, and you're like, you're not a PT, what are you doing? But I wouldn't be approaching it from the fact that, hey, I'm this top fitness expert. I would be approaching it from, I'm very much a novice when it comes to fitness, working out. I enjoy it. You know, it's a big part of my life. But, you know, listen, I'm no expert in working out or whatever. I don't look like Cristiano Ronaldo's young brother, or more like a son. But I'd be approaching it from the fact that, like, I love health and fitness. I love working out, but I don't always know what I'm doing. So the idea, like a lot of people who do it for fun, whether it's working out or martial martial arts, whatever it is, boxing, whatever it is you do. I want to do like an online web series where I would team up with a trainer from a very different discipline every week, and we video it. We make like a vlog type thing of it, and it's like a series that comes out once a week. I don't know if it's a really bad idea or a good idea. And I did scratch by my neck, and that wasn't a way for me to flex because, as much as like I will put up the all time silly photos where like I'm shirtless in the garden and I'll say, "What do you think of my new fence?" But I'm not showing you my fence. Um, as much as that, a lot of people, some people are always amazed when they hear this that I have Crohn's disease. I get messages all the time. The odd time I mention it, and people will message me and be like, "Man, I didn't know you," as if I'm like, keeping it secret or I don't talk about it. I think I've done an episode where I talked about it like really at length near the start of Tea with Me, and I don't know why I said that like it had a question mark after it because I know I did talk about it at length. But but that is why I'm so fascinated by like health and fitness, working out and stuff because I think it really helps my condition. So I would be approaching this web series from I feel that working out helps me stay not ill, like not sick. I think if I didn't work out, um, I think it's good for like my immune system. I think, and it could be that's the whole idea of this. I could be wrong on all this, but the disease I have, Crohn's disease, the disease and sorry I have is disrespectful. It's an autoimmune disease, so it essentially means my immune system should be pretty bad, but my immune system, touch wood for me if you're into that sort of thing, but don't touch my wood. My immune system is, I think, good. It has been really good recently, and I put that down to working out and running and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just interested in it as a subject. And also, whenever I was really sick, so this is maybe 6 years ago, I lost about 2.5, 3 stone. And I got down. Well, I just show this to the camera if I can find it. Um, I lost so much weight that it kind of, I would say, probably did give me like body issues in terms of like being like very 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 self-conscious because hey, I was a skinny slim guy anyway, and then I lost all this weight, and this picture is taken from this day where I said, "Oh, I'm gonna do like a press up here." I'm gonna do press ups. This was the day when I've been out of hospital for a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months. When I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, and I decided I was going to do a workout in the house, and I went down to do a press up, and I couldn't push myself up to do a second one or to do a first one. And this is, by the way, this isn't actually that night. This is after I've been working out for a good few weeks or maybe months. So imagine what I was like before this. So video podcast people can see this. Like the photo maybe doesn't look at, or maybe it does look bad, but like it was real bad. Like you can see like all my ribs. And when like after that, I didn't even realize how bad that was at the time. And then a wee bit down the line, when I was not putting on that much more weight, I just got really conscious of my body and really like disliked my body and got very conscious about it. So that's what this series would be. It would be me being like, I'm so interested in fitness and doing all different kinds of workouts. So I would team up with like, I maybe do like one episode would be boxing training. So I'd work out, do a real intense like boxing workout. Maybe I'd be sick. I'd find out bit more behind it, like why it's good for you to work out that way. I don't know. I think I'd work out with like funny, like interesting people. Maybe it's me and a comedian. Every time me and a different comedian do like a proper workout set by like a real professional. I don't know. It's just something. I don't know if people would be that interested. If you wouldn't be interested in that, don't let me know because I hope you are. And also, I remember I was going to talk about this earlier, which is cool. My HD webcam is Great. It just looked like everything was fuzzy there. Uh, oh yeah, when I was saying about doing those press interviews earlier, I Bell here's what I find very funny. When you do those press interviews for like Belfast Telegraph, Belfast Live, Irish News, sometimes they'll put up a Facebook post about the interview. So say they have 50 stories a day, they'll take 20 and they'll put a Facebook post up of it and people will comment underneath, tag, whatever. And a lot of times you do an interview for those kind of things, you get a few likes on it and that's really it. But you do always get, because those publications, the comment sections are so toxic, you get people who will just be so will be so horrible about any subject. And it's so if I put something out on my page or this podcast or whatever, it's usually going to the people who are into your stuff, the people who are like, yeah, I know what he does, I like to check it out, maybe you've been to see me do stand up, that kind of thing. But whenever something is put out on like the Telegraph or Belfast Live or whatever, it's almost like people think you're going, say like in the head, I'm rambling, but in the headline they'll say something like funny man or comedian Shane Todd or whatever, obviously, right? Because that is literally my job. And I will not look at it straight away, but then I'll wait until the comments build, even if it's a couple of them, and then I'll enjoy a nice read with a cup of tea. And it will never not be funny to me when people comment with generic put downs, because you're like, if it was something out of the ordinary, something original, I would enjoy it and I would salute it. But who are these people when you put something up like that in an interview with me, some guy, and his picture will be like an avatar of something either very loyalist or something very Republican, no in between, and the person will write as funny as piles, and you're like, what is your benefit in like, I am convinced people will write stuff like that and go away being like, fucking belter, and or the one of the best ones as well is comedian question mark, and another good one is who question mark, and it's like, all the information, it's contained within the headline. But it's just like, it's like signing up for a roast battle that you weren't at the recording of. And I used to, back in the day, I would, come back to people like a lot more, but I don't really do it as much now because you don't know who you're getting into it with. I'm going to say, if you are commenting negatively on stuff like that or anything on social media, like if Belfast Telegraph put up a thing being like, oh, the Chords are doing a gig in Ross Trevor, and someone's like, bunch of bastard, like, there's something wrong with you if you're an adult being like, LOL, LOL, this guy is as funny as a hole in the head. You're like, you have issues that you need to speak to somebody about. And also, I guarantee you wrote that when you were going to the toilet because you had 3 hours to kill. Okay. I'm part of an email where we're talking about the podcast, and Dan has sent over stats from the podcast, and I misread a number of the amount of listens we get, and I was like, oh no, that's right bad, and then I realized that was not the number that I should have been looking at. But here we go, folks. We've got Sippers questions. We'll go to Twitter first. Okay, by the way, Dom sent me a tweet there. By the way, fungi has been found. No. Oh no, he hasn't been found. Oh. So fungi is the dolphin down in Dingle, County Kerry. He's always smiling. I mean, all dolphins are, but he's like the local attraction. You go down, you go on a wee boat tour, you see fungi. He swims alongside the boat, jumps in and out of the water. Unbelievable. I went down there about 3 years ago, saw fungi, had a great time. He smiled. He was jumping near the boat. Everyone was enjoying it. A lot of fat people on the boat. They were all sitting on one side because they're part of a big family, and I thought they should have split up. But apart from that, I think it was a good time. But Fungy's been missing. Fucking hell, Fungy's been missing for 7 days. I mean, people will post that, I'm sure in some cases, like almost like a wee novelty story. But if he really, really has been, if he really is missing, I'd be so sad. Oh, people are saying he's dead. Fungi. Oh no. Um. Yeah, Fungy's this dolphin who's, I think he's been around there for like 20 years, maybe even more. Um. Oh, you see, he could have. Oh my God, he could have. I think this part of fatherhood of just maybe being a bit more emotional. But I'm honestly like getting sad about Funky the dolphin being missing. And here's the thing, he could have just gone somewhere else. He could have just gone elsewhere. Like he could have got a deal, with Portrush or something. He's just taking his time, taking a long trip up this, be an attraction there because I think he gets a cut, of money made on those tours. I don't know, man. I hope Funky isn't dead. I'd be so sad. I love him. I love him. He's really cute and he makes a lot of people happy. Funky, I love you, brother. Um, right, we got a load of questions here. Noah Ballard says, how long does Northern Ireland's lockdown 2.0 have to last before you take a gig like this? Looks pretty sweet to me. So this is a screenshot of like an LA comedy forum where someone has said, this is the advertisement to get a stand-up. Need a male comic to do time in between fights at a fight club, 11 p.m. tonight. You must sign a non-disclosure and perform shirtless. No shirt allowed at meeting. You get $50 and a free appetizer from the restaurant upstairs. Must put shirt on to go back to get your food. The restaurant will not be responsible for your shirt. It is suggested you keep it in your vehicle. Could be a regular gig if we like you. Last guy was with us for a year until the shirt thing became an issue. Email if interested. No, you're saying they're not being like how terrible is that? Like how crazy is that gig listing? I would walk. I would walk to LA to do that gig. I mean, I wouldn't literally, Jesus Christ, but I would walk to Ballymena. I'd do a 12-hour walk to do a gig, 100%, any gig, and like you don't understand. In between these two lockdowns, and I've talked about it recently on podcasts, I think I was probably doing my best stand up. Now, hopefully, it's just because the material's good because it's all new material. Um, but I sort of switched my style up like just a tiny bit. I was able to like look back at what I've been doing the last couple of years in stand up and go, I'm actually going to do that, and maybe I'd be better at this than that, and maybe I should get more punchlines in. And it was definitely working. And now we've got to stop again for 4 weeks, but that's okay. But any gig listing I see now, I'm like, yeah, I would definitely do that. At a fight club, sign a non-disclosure agreement, perform shirtless. I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, Jesus, if they had booked me back when there was that shirtless photo of me about 6 years ago, I think it's the first time I've ever posted that or showed anyone in public that picture. But I mean, here's the thing: $50 and a free appetizer would be sweet. Especially if it's like wings and it's a decent sized bowl. Must put shirt on to go get your food. I mean, I think I'd have a problem with that. If I have my shirt off to perform and it goes well, I like the idea I would just keep my shirt on. I don't like the idea of like going out to put the shirt on. But yeah, I mean, I'd be interested for sure. 50 quid and you get to do it with your top off. I mean, I would give them 50 quid to perform the top off. More seriously, got any good stories of bad gigs you had before hitting it big time? I mean, I don't know. I don't think I have hit it big time, but got any good stories of bad gigs? Yeah, I'm trying to think of one that I haven't told on this podcast because I have a couple of go-to ones, but I'm trying to think, are there any real bad ones? Well, one that, look, fuck it, I don't mind saying. I got to perform at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas. Comedy Cellar is one of the most famous comedy clubs in the world. They're New York club, but they have an exact replica in Vegas, ran by the same people. ran by a legendary female booker who, yeah, basically, like, if she sees you, she likes your set, you become a regular. It's a huge deal. My favorite comedians in the world play the Comedy Cellar. So I was on honeymoon. I'm being a real selfish bastard. I did a gig. I was like, I'll do one gig. I did two, but I was like, I'll do. In fact, I did three. But it was every 3 weeks, so it's fine. I was like, I'm gonna do it, not in Vegas, but anyway, I was in Vegas for a couple of days. I was like, I'm gonna do a gig. We had friends out with us for a couple of days, so that was fine. Went and did it. I'd performed San Diego a couple of nights before, so felt like that had been a good time. I was doing 5 minutes in the Comedy Cellar. I was like, I'm gonna really attack this. I'm gonna do my best bit of material. It'll be fine. See, because I had been like lying by the pool all day in a pair of shorts, enjoying the sun. I'd maybe had a single drink during the day. I was too relaxed. Get backstage to the green room. No, like, I'm not advertised as being on the show, so I just show up and say to all the other comedians, I was like, "Hey, I'm Shane," and they were like, "Okay." I hadn't said like I'm also on tonight, so I just walked into the green room and they're like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" So nobody talked to me backstage. At all before going on. So and they were just having their own conversations. I was like, I hate this. Um, that's a good thing about the local comedy scene here is that backstage, everyone can chats to everyone. So even if you're with people you've been friends with for a decade, if there's someone new, whatever, you make a point of going over, saying hello, how long have you been doing it for, what gigs you done, all that kind of thing. But anyway, I went out, did a set, fucking did so badly. And it wasn't even, like I've said this before, you'd almost prefer a bad reaction than no reaction, but it was no reaction. There was the very odd laugh, but it was just not happening. And I went up to the booker after to say, like, thanks for having me. And I was booked for the early show, but they had a late show as well. And I was doing it, like, obviously for free and stuff. They don't know me at all, obviously. So I basically went up to say, could I jump on the late show as well? And I was like, I want to change my set a little bit, but I want to show you, like, a good version of my act. And I went up and was like, hey, thanks. But another comedian was on stage. So I was whispering. So I was like, hey, thanks very much for the, I was just wondering if and she was like, no. And I went, okay. And then I just left. Well, I didn't just leave. The person that spoke to me that was really dead on was this guy called Tony Woods, who I later found out was basically like Dave Chappelle's mentor. And is this like legend himself amongst comedians, and nobody really did well at the gig at all apart from him, who absolutely rocked it. He was so good, and he was so nice to me as well, because I had a real bad gig and he was like, man, that was really good. And I was like, you're the nicest guy in the world, because that was shit. mm. Rebus says, if you were given the powers of King Midas, what would you choose to turn everything that you touch into? Tea? Wouldn't be bad. Oh no, but then everything would be watery. Um, everything. But can I turn this off and on? So could I do like some stuff and then I can just touch things and they don't turn into anything? In which case I would probably turn things into, oh, darling, I'm really into this gluten-free, dairy-free carrot cake at the minute. Oh my God, it's made by a company called Kirsty's. I don't know who Kirsty is, but babe, you're smashing it when it comes to desserts. OMG. I get it. I get it, Nasda. I get it, Nasda. I eat it on Saturday when I'm watching Match of the Day. It's 2 slices to share. I share it with fucking nobody. I love it. Kirsty girl, keep doing what you're doing. I love it. I would turn everything into Kirsty's carrot cake. KCC. Shane McMullen says, how do you rate your achievements this year? Radio show, TV series, podcast, etc., compared to a year when you've been able to tour and put on big comedy shows? Much love. Good question. Good question. I would rate it. I would rate it high, because I think for the shit show of a year that it's been with COVID and all that, I think I've been able to still do a lot of really good stuff. And yeah, I've missed out on doing a tour, which is kind of my, I'd say a big chunk of my yearly income. But I've been extremely, oh my God, extremely lucky to have radio, to have done the TV show and been able to do live shows as well. Definitely didn't take that for granted. There's people who haven't been able to do a gig since all this started, but I'm very, very lucky to have, an audience that if I put something on, they'll come and see it, like a solo show, whatever. So getting to do those was fun for so many reasons. The fact that I knew that not everyone was getting to do this, so um, I can't complain. I've been working here and there, a bit more hustling than the year before, and I don't mean that in a twatish way of saying like I had to go and look for work. I don't mean it like that. You're always looking for work, but I think last year there was a lot of stuff that was just falling on my lap. Kind of, there was a lot of chances to do this and that, and would you be up for this? And you know, it's a brilliant position to be in. But this year, you know, I was having to chase some stuff. I was having to, think outside the box because, it kind of up until this year, it was kind of a case of, okay, I know this part of the year I'm going to tour and I've got the radio show here and then for a wee run here and I can do something in between. Whereas this time it's very much, let's just see what's out there uh, and do slightly different things, corporate Zooms and stuff like that. And I'm just lucky to be doing all of it because, um, when we did that episode talking about the fact that the arts is getting no funding, basically, it really did hit home that there are people with families, not just me, like a newborn. I mean, there's people with 3, 4, 5 kids and partner at home that have not worked since March, haven't earned a penny. So I've definitely not earned as much as I would have earned last year, the year before, but not for a second am I going to complain about that. We can definitely get by. Um, People are great about coming to shows, and you've got the Patreon there as well. So I would rate it. I would nearly rate it 10 out of 10 in the sense that I have been able to do some form of work, and I felt honored to. Honestly, I'm not bullshitting, to be able to have done gigs that I think were fun and people came to and they were ran responsibly. Um, so delighted to be able to do that. So it's been a shit year for so many reasons and for so many people. And I haven't done the stuff I would normally do. And I definitely miss doing a tour because I love doing a tour, and go to America and go to England for shows in Scotland and maybe go to Australia. Didn't get to do any of that, but my family are well. You know what I mean? Like everybody's safe and well. Um, and we have a roof over our heads. We've food in the fridge. There's people who don't. There's people who are just struggling so bad, and I'll definitely bitch about. I haven't been able to gig in 4 weeks, but I do understand that the situation could be so much worse. So in a weird way, I consider it a work wise a good year. Obviously not in so many other aspects. Jonathan Kirkpatrick, thanks for the question. Jonathan Kirkpatrick, as a Belfast boy living in England, that sounds like a Pet Shop Boy song. As a Belfast boy living in England, I make it a point of getting a boojum every time I'm back visiting family. If you lived elsewhere, what would you miss about Northern Ireland or Belfast? The people. It's the people that make it. Boojum, I'd say, would be popular for a lot of people for that kind of thing. Going back, let's stop there. What would I miss? I mean, yeah, if we take friends and family out of it, because that'd be the easy answer. Um, if you want to talk like food and stuff like that, I think I would miss. Hmm. I don't. I don't know if there's one specific place that I. Well, put it this way. I'll answer this. What would be the first thing I would do when I came back, like to eat, going somewhere to eat or drink? I would go to drink in Muriel's. Muriel's probably my favorite bar in Belfast. Definitely up there for me, from my favorite bars. I really like the vibe. Um, oh, I just said the vibe. Cool. 32-year-old white guy likes the vibe. And if I was going to eat somewhere, it would be Nando's. But if it was a specific place that's just here, hmm, I I'll go with Morn Seafood in Dundrum. That's probably my favorite place to eat. So good. So good. Oh my God. Great guys. Killian McKay says, what conspiracy would you like to start? Definitely interesting. What conspiracy would I like to start? Maybe like people who can't say that. That might be illegal. I don't know. I don't know. I liked it back in the day in the playground. People would just start like not conspiracies, but wee lies. They would just catch on. Like I remember people in my secondary school said that the librarian, this new librarian guy, had a tattoo on his back of dogs playing poker, and it was based on nothing because he got asked it every day, and then one day he just cracked up apparently and just shouted in a library, which is very rude. He of all people should know. You should whisper that he apparently just went, "I did not have a tattoo on my back of dogs playing poker." So that was a fun. Maybe my favorite thing would be to bring that lie back. David Barrett. No. Morgan Schutz. Thoughts on having a newborn in a global pandemic. Again, like the Gagan. There's so many things where you're like, oh no, you miss out on this or that. Like not being able to get in for appointments and stuff. I just had to sit in the car. Was kind of shit, and the fact that we can't go and see family, like aunties and uncles and stuff, haven't seen them. None of us aunties and uncles really have seen them, which is terrible because you just want to parade the baby to everyone and be like, have a hold of this guy, but you can't. But again, like the gigs, you just can't really complain about it because baby's doing well, and it's just so good to have a baby that stuff kind of just doesn't matter. Burnsy says, where is the back of your hand? Probably the front of your hand. No. Lewis Pearson, 3 people you'd have dinner with, dead or alive. That was actually a question in the press interview did, so check out the Belfast Telegraph for the answer to that. Paul Boyle, you play a full Premier League season at striker for a mid-table side. How many goals you getting? So let's take as a mid-Premier League side, mid-table, so someone that's finishing around 10th. We'll go with, I think that's roughly where, who's going to finish with 10th? Villa. I think Villa this season are going to finish with 10th. So I know they nearly got relegated last year, but if I was playing up front for Aston Villa, I would score 7 goals. Now that's a big shout because like there's strikers in the Premier League who don't score 7 goals, but I think I would just gamble on the goalkeeper spilling shots and crosses and all that kind of thing. I'd score 7 goals at Premier League level, playing 38 games in a season. I would get you a goal every, how much is that? Every 5 games, 100%. I'd get you a goal. I mean, the answer also to that might be 0, and the answer also might be I don't think Aston Villa would play me. Matthew Orr, do you and your wife ever argue over who the baby refers to as mummy? So rude. And yes. Spook McGhost says, what's the worst board game to be trapped in, Jumanji style? Cluedo. Because people always get murdered in it, don't they? Zach, are you a member of the North Down UVF? Prefer not to say. Prefer not to say. C. Diddy, what about ball sack bras to combat sagging testicles? Discuss. More like put a T on the end of that because it's more disgust. But also that might actually be a sweet business venture. And if you're on Dragon's Den, I would definitely give you 20 grand for 5% to your company. Can't answer that because that would offend about 100,000 people. Katie, what is the best tea drinking biscuit? Minimal crumbage or residue? Um, you know what I go for? A Fox's Vanessa biscuit. Two buttery. I don't eat these obviously, but two buttery uh, biscuit layers with a little bit of chocolate inside. If you are someone like me who doesn't eat like dairy or anything like that, I go with a dark chocolate digestive. Oh, oh, do you know what I like to do with dark digestive is make a sandwich so the biscuits in the middle, two digestives from the fridge, put dark chocolate digestives in the fridge, open them out, take two, put them up, the chocolate in, and eat them like a wee sandwich. Yum, yum, yum. Brilliant stuff. Patrick Quinn, Tobic, the original Belfast Gang China, that makes sense. How did you propose? Was it purely romantic, or did you throw in a wee joke and a cruisy tongue and wink? Keith Cruz. That would have totally ruined the moment. By the way, before I answer, Alexandra, do another one with Jamie Dornan. Yeah, maybe I will ask him. I will definitely ask him. But that was a command. There was no question mark after that, so don't do that again. So funny that I said any topics or questions, and then Portadown Football Club from their official account, Portadown Football Club. Just talk about Portadown Football Club, and then put a kiss after it, and I'll send you one back. Weird to kiss a football club, but I'll say this quickly. I watched this is so niche. I'll just talk about this really quickly. I watched Portadown v Glenavon. I thought the coverage of the game was brilliant. It was on the red button on BBC. Thought the commentary was good. I thought the footage looked good. I thought the match was good, and I liked it. And every week, I want to watch an Irish League match at 5:30 when I come back from playing football. I have a wee cup of tea and I watch an Irish League match, and I would love that. So Portadown FC, I enjoyed that, and send me a load of free training gear in a size medium. DM me, I'll give you my address. How did I propose? Oh no, I just nearly sent a voice message to someone. How did I propose? I proposed in Amsterdam. I proposed in Amsterdam, and I did it in a very beautiful way. And the original Belfast guy in China, Patrick Quinn, TOBGICPQ. I'm not gonna, it's a personal story, but let's just say it will bring a tear to your eye. And next year, whenever I'm gigging at the Wuhan Fringe, I'm going to get you free tickets for that, 2 free tickets for that. In fact, 1 free ticket, you pay for the other one. And I'll tell you the story. But it was great. Dara Conlon says, well, Money Toad, long-time listener, first-time questioner. I've been recently listening to a few of the Old Boy Town podcasts and stumbled upon the Paramilitary Pharmacist. A classic. Coincidentally, on the same day, a workmate of mine was constipated, and being a legend, I recommended him seeing the Paramilitary Pharmacist for ease and poppers. But it's been 2 weeks, he hasn't paid his paramilitary debt. Now he's about to lose his kneecaps. Any advice on how to avoid this situation in the future? Ribbit. Well, Dara, ribbit back at you, man. And yeah, that was a really good oh, nice. That was a really good episode. If I do say so myself, the Paramilitary Pharmacist, and I'm talking about it like I'm Roy Orbison looking back on like the song "Only the Lonely," which is one of the best songs of all time. But my advice would be honestly just start going to Boots, because the paramilitary pharmacists are not licensed, and the only thing they ever prescribe is ease and poppers, which is going to help some problems, but more often than not, it's just going to give you a problem. That's not a podcast question. It's just somebody giving me praise, which I like. Um. Oh, we're an advertising agency. We'd like to advertise on your page. Could we agree that? No, I don't do that because I don't sell out, but also reply how much. Naomi Mitchell, did you know South Korea had a sex park? Well, if I didn't, I do now. Let me see. I can click into the link, Naomi, and you'll understand. I don't. By the way, thank you for asking a question on the live Patreon Sunday there. I can't click on that link because it physically won't let me. And I'm not going to Google South Korea sex park. It's as simple as that. But I can imagine what it is. I imagine it's like Alton Towers. And the Big Dipper really is as it sounds. Jude, talk about your fantasy footballer. Emre Can, Graziano Pella, Olivier Giroud, hello, Dreamboat FC. Oh, fantasy football. You've corrected yourself. I don't do fantasy football. I always set them up with the best of intentions and then never update my team. But I've done the Irish League one in the past. Matthew Mernon, who's your mole in the executive that let you know you should bring your holiday forward a week? I can't give that away, but all I will say is she has a little bit of a quiff. And we'll leave it there. Jonathan Clark, what are your lockdown hobbies? Working out, brother. Just shifting tin and shifting plate. Dave Elliott, what is it about my personality that makes me such a good podcast guest? Yes, Dave, you were funny. Well, you're not humble anyway, but you were funny in the live episode. Owen says, you remember the Reebok 5s or playing them? I don't remember the Reebok 5s. Were they football boots or was it a five-a-side tournament? I don't know, but either way, I probably would be interested. Paul Doherty, what's your favourite and worst Northern Irish accent? I think it's amazing we can drive a few miles here and the people speak completely different. Favourite? Well, any accent that's spoken, like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, some people slobber about the Ballymena accent, but sometimes Ballymena accent's nice. My favourite is probably... My favourite Belfast accent... Oh, not my favourite Belfast. My favourite Northern Irish accent is not the Belfast accent. It's probably Cullybacky accent, you know, something like that. I don't even know if that's it, but like even accents that are more Ballymena than Ballymena, and that's also the worst accent too. So the best and worst. Giles Strutt, what's your ideal lineup for a fry? Turkey bacon. I don't do red meat anymore. I don't do so many things. Turkey bacon, turkey sausages, gluten-free toast, beans, a little bit of brown sauce, also known as the weak man's fry. Mark McBride, have you seen Nordy Shore? What's your opinion? Yes, we've talked about that with Dave before. Nordy Shore was the parody of Geordie Shore that by the way, oh fuck, Dan just sent me a WhatsApp. Did you record today? Hey Dan, you're live on the Tea With Me podcast. People in the video version will see the fact that I am sending you a message right now. Yes, I'm recording right now. I'm so sorry. It is 4:15. You'll have the podcast before 5. I can only apologize. Please don't beat me up. So there you go. We'll send that to him. Nordy Shore, yes, it was a parody Dave and a sketch group did of Geordie Shore. Did I see it? Yeah. Did I see it? Yes. My opinions on it. I think it was very smart what they did at the time because so many people saw it. And people, like, it was really well branded and shot exactly the same as Geordie Shore. So many people thought it was real, and I loved that. And I think it was very smartly executed. Sippers, that may well be all the questions for this week's episode. I will have a guest episode on Friday. That guest is TBC, but it may well be somebody pretty great. It's going to be somebody great anyway, because that's what we do. But yeah, the guest episode will be up on a Friday. Manscaped.com. Tea With Me podcast is... Tea With Me is the discount code, not Tea With Me podcast. Manscaped.com. You get 20% off free shipping with the code Tea With Me. Check out the Patreon as well, which is patreon.com/Tea With Me podcast. And the last thing I want to plug is the Shopify. So that's our online merch store. Shopify. Just Google Shopify, Shopify, Shane Todd Comedy, and you'll find the Tea With Me mugs on there. You'll find the t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. So check that out. Thank you very much, Sippers. Appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who watched the live episode. That episode will be up publicly in a couple of weeks' time. Over and out.